All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Wednesday, May 1st, new month. Happy May to everyone out there. We got a 15-game MLB slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, we're going to go through each and every one of these games. I'll give you my lean on the side. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other plays, like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, if you do want to ride with me or if you want to be a guppy and fade me, all of my plays are going to be in the pinned comment, so what I'm actually rolling with myself. So make sure to keep an eye on that pinned comment. Had a nice night last night, finishing off April with a 4-1 night. We'll take the cha-ching. Best call on the board was Jack Flaherty over 5.5 strikeouts. He had like 19 in one inning. So shout out to Jack Flaherty for that. Matt Vierling also came through with his under. Bobby Witt Jr. came through with his over. And then the Phillies' first five turning into just a go-to play for us. So yeah, 4-1 night. Yankees money line, the only one that does not cash. And we'll talk about that in just a second, because we have our first member of the 15-day do not bet list. We'll talk about it in a second. But it is a new month, so we also recap the last month as well as the season on the first, or first couple days of a new month. But because the MLB season's only been going for about a month, we just have the season tally here. Bottom right of your screen and bottom right of that graph, or the table, you'll see that we are up 8.81 units on the MLB season, which that's what I love about the MLB. Like you could see in the win column for the percent, we're only hitting at a 53.61%, which in most sports, with minus 110 odds and stuff, like that isn't profitable really. Actually probably not profitable, but with the MLB you have so many more plus money plays that you throw around and everything like that, so we absolutely love to see it. And I feel like we're getting to the territory in which we could start putting some full units on plays, which we really haven't done all that much. But yeah, I love seeing the 53.61 but still up 8.81 units. But guys, I did say we had a new little segment coming, and the Yankees, the first team on the 15-day do not bet list. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, that's a stupid tactic. What if the Yankees have an edge in a good spot? I get it, but we're also having a little bit fun here, right? We're sports betting. So the Yankees have burned us enough time so far that they're now on the 15-day DNB, and we're not gonna bet them again, or even consider finally betting them in terms of a final play until the 15th of May, because they're on the 15-day DNB. Give me a comment of DNB in the comments if you guys do like that idea. I think it'll be fun. But all right, let's get to a couple other things and then we'll jump into today's games. I didn't see any daily dingers hit yesterday, but you know what? Let's bring the ride of the day over to the MLB. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, just use hashtag ride of the day in the comments, and I'll be picking one person's play and jumping on board with your pick. If you get it right, we continue to ride with you, but you get a shout out in the next video, win or loss. So make sure to use that hashtag ride of the day. I also tweet out the ride of the day, so you get a shout out over there as well. We'll do it in the MLB and NBA. We'll try and fit it in as much as we can. So use those hashtag ride of the days in the comments. But all right, let's go ahead and jump into the games today, guys. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. Appreciate the hell out of all the likes in yesterday's video. But let's jump into it. We got Detroit taking on St. Louis here in this one. So far, the series is split. This is the final game here. On the mound for Detroit is going to be Kent Tomeda, who is hosting a 5.96 ERA with a 6.73 FIP and a 1.4 WHIP on the year. Going up against Miles Mikolas, who 5.91 ERA, 4.78 FIP, and a 1.47 WHIP. So obviously not exactly the best pitching out there. And Detroit would have the edge when it comes to bullpen, but their bullpen is super taxed. Pretty much everybody, honestly, went in their bullpen, I think with the exception of like two guys yesterday. So their bullpen should be taxed. I know that these, both these teams have mediocre offenses, but I have a feeling that St. Louis has a chance to get to Maeda today, who, St. Louis on the year in the last 30 facing right-handed pitchers on the road, 10th in average, 11th in WRC+, 9th in on-base percentage, 10th in OPS, so maybe some runs come from them today. I'm going to lean towards St. Louis on the money line. The one thing I'll say is maybe we just look like a St. Louis team total or something like that, because also I don't trust Miles Mikolas, or Michaelis, however you say his damn name. I don't necessarily trust him to hold down Detroit, so maybe we back the St. Louis offense, which sounds crazy even saying. But either way, give me St. Louis on the money line. In terms of a total, I know these pitchers stink, and I know the bullpens are taxed, but again, like, are these offenses really there for it? And the final score yesterday was 11-6. Like, if you look at their recent games, that's an absolute outlier for both teams. So I'm going to slightly lean towards the under as well. A player prop that I'm considering here, going to be Kerry Carpenter of the Tigers here, under 1.5 total bases. You can get that for -130 over on Fanatics. It's like -145 on Caesars and DraftKings, so I guess still a little juiced, but -130 on Fanatics, definitely the best book that we have access to here. He's hit this only a few times, at least hit the under in 67% of games this season, and as crazy as it is, Mikolas, who throws from the right side, his batting average against drops a little bit facing left-handed batters, but obviously he can always let up the crap pitch that just goes deep, which he throws a lot of sliders, and that could be a problem if he just hangs it in the air, right? But nonetheless, Kerry Carpenter under 1.5 bases, first player prop lead. All right, next game up, we have Milwaukee taking on Tampa Bay. And if we flash to the dashboard here, by the way, guys, you guys hit so many likes on yesterday's video. I said I'll leave this dashboard as a free tool. If we hit 250 or something likes yesterday, you guys nearly tripled it. So we'll do it again today. If you hit 300 likes on today's video, we'll leave this dashboard as a free tool for everyone to use. The link will be in the pinned comment. What it does is pretty much gives you like a starting point for every single game here. We have the pitching numbers. We have their pitch mix. We have the batting versus the hand, batting away and home, batting versus those pitches, the bullpen numbers. So pretty damn cool tool. And obviously, it's something that we put a lot of work into. So at some point, we're going to offer it just to channel members. But if you guys keep crushing the likes, then hell, I'll keep it free for everyone. So 300 likes is the goal today. That sounds crazy saying, but you guys nearly hit like 750 yesterday. So yeah. Shout out to you guys, but 300 likes, and this is available to you guys for free tomorrow again, because again, we're looking to make this just special for the members. But anyways, back to this game. Milwaukee taking on Tampa Bay. Rhea on the mound going up against Eflin here. You can see their numbers. You'd probably lean towards Eflin, right? But I just do think that there's a little bit too much of an offensive discrepancy over here. Milwaukee versus right-handed pitchers, that's the spot we like to look at them. And honestly, even the pitch mix here, right? Like Tampa Bay, changeup's going to be the only pitch that they hit really, really well, and you're not seeing much of a changeup coming from Rhea, right? He's going to pitch a lot of sinkers, cutters, fastballs, and sliders, that's sinkers, a pitch that is thrown a lot from Zach Eflin. Milwaukee, second in runs above average there. So I do think that this is a tough spot and tough matchup for Zach Eflin. I think the last time he pitched against him was last year, and he had a decent outing, but this Milwaukee offense against righties is a little bit of a different beast as of right now and so far on the season. So I'm going to lean towards Milwaukee because they got that plus sign next to their number too. Plus 108. I don't mind taking a peek at that. We'll see where those odds go as well. I wouldn't be surprised if that moves a little bit closer to, even odds throughout the day. In terms of a total, I guess I'll lean towards the over. This was an 8-2 game yesterday, but that's because Milwaukee teed off on Alexander. I don't know if they tee off on Eflin, but I think it's kind of silly to be taking a peek at an under for a Milwaukee team that, they have the ability against righties to put up a big number. So I'm going to lean towards Milwaukee here, as well as taking a peek at the over, and no real player props that I'm loving in this game at all. But as always, keep an eye on the pinned comment, like the Matt Vierling play yesterday. That wasn't something that jumped out at us during the video, but we ended up throwing it into the final plays, and boom, it cashed. So always room to add in the pinned comment. All right, White Sox taking on Minnesota. I'll give the White Sox credit yesterday for, fighting in that game, right? They end up losing, but they didn't look all that terrible. It was a 6-5 finish. My concern here is that obviously I do think Minnesota is going to be the move. The White Sox offense stinks. Bailey Ober is definitely a better pitcher than Chris Flexen. The problem here is, can we really justify Minnesota minus 200? That stinks out loud. And I don't love Minnesota minus 1.5. I don't want to back them that much, right? So, unfortunately, I can't get to the White Sox side of things. Even their plus 176 doesn't say, hey, this is worth a flyer. We even saw yesterday that they can go up big, but it's they don't have the bullpen or really anything to be able to sustain a lead. And sure, they can sometimes, but overall, this bullpen is taxed now after last night, and they stunk already. So unfortunately, I'm going to lean towards Minnesota as heavy favorites, but the odds probably keep that from being a final play. A spot in which I don't mind taking a peek is going to be the under 9 runs here. Now, the reason being is that Minnesota against righties, they've been good against lefties. Flexen's a righty. Now, Flexen, I'm not going to sit here and try and gas him up because the dude is not all that great, and even in his 80 plate appearances against the guys on this current Twins roster is a 310 batting average against. And only a 12.5 K rate, so I'm not really gassing him up, but I don't think Minnesota is going to go out there and score 6 runs again. I probably have them pegged around 4 runs, say, okay? And I don't think the White Sox are going to necessarily get to Ober and put up a decent amount of runs. So I could see this finishing around the 6 or 7 mark, and that's pretty damn far from 9 runs, or actually having to get to 10 runs, right? So I'll lean towards the under here. It actually has a chance of being a final play. Minnesota's bullpen, I do like. They're fairly taxed as well. Even their, they're I guess they have a few different closers, right? Like, not only one of them went yesterday, or actually 2 of them might have gone yesterday, but they had been pitching a lot of days leading up. So little worrisome there. Maybe it's like an under for the first 5 or something like that. But yeah, I just can't see too many runs scoring in this game. It's funny, like I say that and all of a sudden flash to tomorrow when we're recapping, it was like a 12-7 game. Not many runs scored. But again, under in this spot, as well as, unfortunately, lean towards Minnesota, to be honest, because they're so heavily juiced. All right, Toronto taking on KC. This has been a good series so far. Toronto wins game number 1, and then KC bounces back and wins yesterday. Now Seth Lugo's on the mound taking on Chris Bassett. I do think that Lugo has a slight upper hand in this spot. Bassett has a few games that are just, noteworthy on the ugly side of things. Like, he was looking good, and then went up against San Diego, didn't look terrible, but didn't look all that great, and then goes up against the Dodgers, and 2 2/3 pitched, 9 hits, 2 home runs, 3 walks, 7 earned runs, only 4 Ks. So that's got to be in his head still. Going up against a decent Kansas City offense here. Give me KC on the money line. I don't know if I'd love this as much if we weren't getting such good value. Like, KC for plus 116 over on FanDuel seems like could be just like a nice little flyer. You know what I mean? They should have the better bullpen. Toronto's bullpen should be fairly rested, but I'd take even a slightly taxed Kansas City bullpen over this Toronto bullpen, quite honestly. But overall, I do think that, and I don't think Kansas City's bullpen is even that taxed. I think their setup and closer maybe went yesterday, but they hadn't pitched the day before. But anyways, Kansas City here, plus money line play. In terms of a total, we've seen, a 6-5 game and then a 4-1 game. I don't necessarily think Toronto gets to Lugo all that crazily today. I could see Kansas City putting up 4 runs again. This probably doesn't make its way into the final plays, but I'm gonna slightly lean towards, I just flipped in my brain. I'm gonna lean towards the over, because if the bullpens do get got here, it's not like these bullpens are studs, and I do think that both these offenses have some bats in there that can put up numbers quickly. So yeah, I'm gonna lean towards the over, even though I was just about to say under, and I have in my notes under, but I'm not that confident in looking at that saying yeah, an under in this game. So slight lean towards the over. How about that, huh? All right, guys, real quick before we get to the rest of the games, I want to talk to you about Sleeper. I know I talked to you about Sleeper a lot, but that's because I freaking love the app. If you have not tried Sleeper yet, now is the time to do so. You can use the link in the pinned comment. You're going to get your first deposit 100% matched. And I know this is a baseball video, but you see that James Harden free square over there, 0.5 points for his matchup tonight against the Dallas Mavericks. What I love about Sleeper is that each and every play on their app has its own unique multiplier and payout multiplier, so you don't just follow the fixed payout structure like a lot of apps out there. They even offer alternate lines now, which is super, super cool. You like a guy, for 6.5 strikeouts, well, you want to be a little bit safer. You can bump it down to 5.5, and it's really coming in clutch in the NBA, guys. Go check out Sleeper. I'm telling you, I don't push any apps or anything that I don't use myself, and if you follow me on Instagram, you follow me with the YouTube Shorts or on TikTok, you know that I use Sleeper religiously, so go check it out, guys. That link is in the pinned comment. Make sure to click it. Again, first deposit matched. It's an absolute no-brainer if you ask me. I believe you will love this app if you use it. Go try it out. Link in the pinned comment. Go take advantage of that James Harden square. Now let's go ahead and jump back into the rest of these games. All right, Oakland taking on Pittsburgh here. You have Ross Stripling on the mound taking on Quinn Priester, who I've never been the biggest Quinn Priester guy, but his last outing kind of saved his numbers here. So his first outing against Boston, 4 1/3, 7 hits, 5 runs, 4 of them earned, 3 home runs, right? And then he goes up against San Francisco, pitches 6 innings, 6 Ks, 0 earned runs, only 3 hits and 1 walk. So his numbers may be a little misleading, like which one do you want to trust, right? Going up against Ross Stripling, who his numbers seem to be all over the place as well, but he's going to consistently, I feel like, let up 3 or so runs in this spot. So pitching advantage, I guess we have to give to the Pittsburgh Pirates here, even though I do think it's kind of crazy to sit there and do so. And Oakland's bullpen definitely is a little bit better, so there, kind of maybe evens out the first 5 through the next 4 or so. But where it comes down to, and if we jump into the dashboard here, you could see these offenses are both just terrible versus right-handed pitchers, even if we look at it and splice it up here from right-handed pitchers away and right-handed pitchers on the road. So I don't necessarily envision a lot of runs being scored in this game. We've seen Oakland's offense kind of popping up off as of late, but I don't see the A's being able to sweep the Pirates in this spot. So I'm going to lean Pirates as well as taking a peek at the under here in this spot. I just think you have good value for a Pirates team that maybe I'm the crazy one and the idiot in the room, but because they do have the exact same record, but I just think the Pirates are a little bit better than the A's, which again, I don't have much on my side due to the fact that we're looking at a team that has the exact same record as their opponent. But give me Quinn Priester, I can't believe I'm saying that, and the Pirates, as well as the under. I don't necessarily think these bats are going to absolutely tear it up today, okay? In terms of a player prop here, I might even like this player prop more than I do anything else in the game, but O'Neal Cruz, over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Okay, so he hasn't really been crushing this. He's only done it in 33% of games this year, and most of those came at the beginning of the season. But that being said, he has 3 plate appearances against Stripling. He has 1 hit. It was a home run, so he also got an RBI, so that's good to see, right? And him against right-handed pitchers this year, 300 average. His WRC plus goes up to 125, which we like to see, and Stripling's batting average going up against left-handed batters, 323 and a WOBA of 360. So should be a good matchup for him if you want to go kind of crazy and take more of a flyer. Hell, O'Neal Cruz over bases is plus 130. So a little bit more of like maybe a low unit flyer. But I do think O'Neal can get on base today and hopefully score a run, or even, get on base next at bat, fly out for a run, that type of thing. But it's tough to back a guy for hits, runs, and RBIs and even total bases when you just got finished talking about the under. But again, I'm not believing in Ross Stripling all that much. All right, Seattle taking on the Braves here. Braves dropping both games, and they've both been low-scoring games so far throughout this series. But today we have Chris Sale on the mound going up against Emerson Hancock. Chris Sale has some decent numbers against this Seattle roster. And again, when I say that, it means the players on the roster, not necessarily his last starts against Seattle or anything like that. If a guy played for the Oakland A's last year and Sale pitched against him and he's now on the Seattle Mariners, like that's what I'm talking about. But anyways, 29 plate appearances, so super minimal. But in those 29 plate appearances, a 41.5% K rate. That's pretty nasty. A 160 batting average against, an expected batting average against today of 188, a WOBA of 207, an expected WOBA of 282. So Chris Sale should be in line for a decent start here. And that's just what the doctor ordered for Atlanta. Like, they obviously want to come out here and get a win because they're struggling as of right now. So I do think that this is a fairly easy lean towards Atlanta for me. Are we going to be able to swallow those odds at, minus 165-ish? I don't know. That's just about, knocking on the door. Any more odds like that, I'd probably turn around before I even ring the doorbell. So I'll lean towards the Braves in this spot. Total sitting at 7.5. We haven't seen many runs yet in this game, in this series, excuse me. I think that the runs at some point have to happen. And I don't envision like Emerson Hancock, who's starting for Seattle, being able to go out there and just absolutely suppress this Braves team. So you know what? I'll lean towards the over as well, but make note, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, or maybe even last week, like taking Braves and the overs in their games almost made the DNB list, the 15-day DNB, because we have not, I think we cashed like one of those maybe, but we lost a lot of bread when it came to taking Braves overs, but the DNB list was not official yet, so that's definitely in my brain, but I got to go by the rules. It's not on the DNB list. We could still consider it, right? I hope. All right, Angels taking on the Phillies. I think you know where we're going with this one, and everything kind of supports it, even if we look at the dashboard here. Zach Wheeler on the mound, who for a couple of years now I've said is literally, in my opinion, one of the most underrated pitchers. This year, finally, his ERA and everything is matching, but last year his ERA was high and his FIP, which is fielding independent pitching, was super low, and it's like that's an indicator that things are happening behind him with the field more than just his pitches itself. But Zach Wheeler up against Sandoval should be, an edge for Philadelphia. not even going to worry about the bullpens like we haven't been doing, right? We've been going Philly first 5. The problem today is that Philly is a huge favorite, which makes a hell of a lot of sense. So we might have to look at Philly on the first half run line, which is minus 0.5 runs, meaning they have to be winning after the first 5. Still might roll with it because we're already up in this series from Philly, right? We've taken them in both the games and even last series. So, I don't mind doing so. And you can get minus 120 over on BetMGM right now, which definitely is valuable because it's minus 132 on FanDuel, minus 130 on DraftKings, so 10 cents of value there. So that may be the move, but again, it gets a little scary because money lines are a little bit safer. If you're tied after 5 innings, it's a push. You get your money back. Minus 0.5, you got to be winning, and maybe we're getting a little greedy here, but give me Philly, first 5 run line. In terms of the total, I'll continue to lean towards the over because of what we've seen from these bullpens, right? Even that game number 1, still sticks with me because that is such a Phillies game. They won in the first 5, and then the Angels go off later in the game. Yesterday, the Phillies hung on to the lead, but it was still a 7-5 game. So I expect some late runs yet again in this series, or in this game, excuse me. A player prop I don't mind, and it's more of a value play here because this is a plus 120 play on most sports books. We can get it for plus 140 over on FanDuel. Kyle Schwarber over 1.5 bases. I guess you got to ride the hot bat, right? Especially going up against Sandoval. I don't mind that. So give me Schwarber over 1.5 bases. But again, that's a plus 140, maybe a little sprinkle type of a play. Padres hosting the Reds here. Split series so far. San Diego getting the dub yesterday. On the mound today for San Diego is going to be Joe Musgrove. 6.94 ERA, 1.66 whip, a FIP of 6.7, and even his expected FIP at 5. So not all that great. Going up against Graham Ashcraft, who has had some good starts, had some bad starts on the year. I kind of expect him to have a decent start today. The problem is that the Cincinnati lineup against right-handed pitchers in the last 30 is terrible. Second worst average, worst WRC plus, second worst K percentage, 30th, so worst in on-base percentage, 27th, so fourth worst when it comes to OPS, and fifth worst in slugging. I don't think I can back the Cincinnati offense, so I'm going to lean towards San Diego on the money line. I wanted to get to Cincinnati because I think Ashcraft actually has a decent game today, and his strikeout line at 4.5. I think I might be considering that because it's plus 124 right now. So those are some decent odds. And I've seen this in the even odds on ESPN and DraftKings, plus 105 over on MGM. Fanatics has it at minus 105, but FanDuel at plus 124. This is giving me Jack Flaherty vibes from yesterday, and he had, again, 1 million strikeouts in the first inning, so I might go with Graham Ashcraft here over 4.5 strikeouts. This is a San Diego team that doesn't strike out like a crazy amount against right-handed pitchers, but they are in the bottom half of the league in terms of striking out against right-handed pitchers when they are at home, so could be a spot that we consider there. In terms of the total, I think San Diego is going to, probably score 4 runs or so, but this Cincinnati offense worries me, so little lean towards the under in this spot. All right, Baltimore taking on New York, and might I remind you, New York on the 15-day DNB, so by default, I guess we do lean Baltimore here in this one, and I don't mind that whatsoever. You have Corbin Burns on the mound, going up against Luis Gil or Hill. Yes, this Yankees lineup is still really strong against right-handed batters on the season, but we've kind of seen, I guess, overall, Baltimore has the upper hand in this series, no doubt. Even the fact that the Yankees aren't truly getting to the Baltimore bullpen, which is kind of, meh right now. They have some good arms, but not all that great statistically. They haven't been able to score all that much late, so I do think Baltimore has the upper hand here with the starting pitcher. Maybe you consider them in the first 5 like we do with the Phillies, because I do want to trust Burns over Gill. My only concern here, and again, I'm not betting the Yankees because we have a little shtick now with the DNB, but the Yankees bats, at some point, right? At some point, they got to do something. 6 runs through 2 games. The previous 2 games, they scored 30 runs combined. So at some point, I have a feeling these bats are going to come alive, but I don't necessarily know if it's today against Corbin Burns. You know what I mean? This isn't an easy spot for them to go out there and run stuff. So yeah, I'm going to lean towards Baltimore, maybe full game or first 5. When it comes to the total, I'll lean. This is so tough because I want to lean towards the over because the Yankees bats, and I think Baltimore's offense is there, but Corbin Burns should be able to kind of pitch really well against them. So I'm caught. Obviously, I'm going to lean towards the under, but maybe it's a under first 5 because we can trust Burns on the mound, and also Gill, who hasn't been terrible this year, just not really Corbin Burns level. All right, Miami taking on Colorado. I really, again, just like yesterday, don't care about this game, but we still had a Guppy in the comments being like, your lean in that game effed me. And I made a Guppy alert video on the shorts. It's on the channel if you want to go check it out about it. It's like, you just admitted that I leaned that way, right? Like, I didn't say this is a lock or anything like that. Same thing today. Like, I do think Colorado, though they ended up blowing that lead, I think that they're probably worth the sprinkle if you're betting this game. But either way, like, I don't love this spot for it's Dakota Hudson up against Roddery, Frankie Muniz. Like, not really my cup of tea there, because Miami at minus 152. So probably a pass overall for me, and I'm gonna lean. All right, buddy, if you're listening to this again, I'm leaning towards the under, while also telling you I'm definitely not betting this myself, okay? So no comments about, man, your lean effed me in that spot. Yeah, I messed up your 12-leg parlay, I'm sure, Gup. All right, next up, we have the Mets taking on the Cubs. Good series, I think, so far in this one. Like, it's crazy that Severino literally pitched an absolute gem in game number 1, and they still lost the game. Then yesterday, the Mets do bounce back against Carne Asada. They win 4-2. This is a tough one because Shota Imanaga is on the mound for, I nailed that pronunciation, let's go. He's on the mound for the Cubs, and obviously I really like him. Buto's on the mound for the Yankees. He's been all right. I'll give him a little bit of credit. I try to not use my player bias here, but he started the season okay. Last couple games, not so much. So I do think there's a pitching advantage here for the Cubs. The Mets bullpen also should be a little bit better, but damn, are they taxed after yesterday's game here. So that kind of lessens their edge there. Hitting should be an advantage towards the Mets today, because I would normally say that Chicago's got a damn good lineup. But no Bellinger, and then who else is there? They have another bat that's missing. Suzuki, who, they have a 300 plus hitter in terms of batting average than Bellinger, who, last year was a 300 plus hitter. So I do think that those are two tough spots for them there to be missing. I'm going to lean towards the Mets in this spot. You're getting even odds for, a spot in which, there's a couple bats missing from the Cubs, and this has proven to be a close series. So looking at that plus 100 as 50-50, it's like, I think it could be worth taking the flyer there. I'm also going to lean towards the under. We really haven't seen much to say that this is going to be an 8-run type of a game so far in this series. Again, 3-1 and then 4-2. And, you have the Cubs, Shota Imanaga. Did I do it again? On the mound, pitching well. And then Buto, his ERA is a 2.8, whip 1.09. Like, yes, he's probably due for some regression, but I still think this one stays under the 7.5 line here. All right, Boston taking on San Francisco here. Not confirmed, but I believe Jeffries is on the mound for San Francisco, who that's not necessarily like a starter type spot. Going up against Cutter Crawford, who has been it's been so impressive. On the year, he's got a 1.35 ERA, a 1.11 whip, a FIP of 2.2. His expected FIP today does jump to 3.89, and his expected ERA does jump to 2.83, but nonetheless, like, still not terrible numbers. That ERA, definitely not. The FIP jumps more into the average range, but I'll lean towards Boston here in this spot. As long as Boston, has their bats, which is Devers, O'Neill, some of the guys that have been out as of late, I do think that, they're worth taking a flyer on, especially when we just saw them. And, like, I didn't play it, so I wasn't that big on it, but I was pretty confident in Logan Webb yesterday, and he only went 3 2/3. So I don't know if it's time to, like, fade these Boston bats who have won 3 straight games. So, give me the Red Sox here on the money line. Total sitting at 8.5. I don't necessarily look at this San Francisco team and say that they're going to contribute all that much offensively against Cutter Crawford, who has been dealing, right? So, this is probably a spot in which I lean towards the under as well, but maybe Boston, like, team total, depending on what the line is, could be a move here, because their offense, it seems like win or loss, they're getting 4+ runs as of late, right? All right, Texas taking on Washington here. You have Andrew Heaney on the mound for Texas, going up against Washington's Trevor Williams. Heaney has been batted around, but again, this is a series in which I've kind of said it from the jump, which their first game was, 2 days ago or yesterday? I do think Texas's offense is kind of due for some progression here, so I'm going to lean towards Texas again. Minus 174 probably leaves it out of the final place here. I'm also going to take a peek at the over, but even yesterday, like, Gray, who I was like, I think he's going to pitch well. I did not expect him to pitch 8 innings yesterday. So a guy that definitely isn't normally this like into the game long pitcher. Like usually you see him twice and he starts to get rattled a little bit. Like shout out to Gray for going off. But I do think that this could be an over type spot. I think Texas gets theirs, and then Washington probably gets to Heaney a little bit here against lefties on the road this year. Washington ranked 9th, ISO 1, slugging 7th, OPS 6th. So maybe they have a couple big hits today overall. So I'll lean slightly towards the over. No major player props in this game. I did want to kind of consider some Texas bats, but I really couldn't get there because we have seen like a decent season out of Williams, but to me it's like the dude's got to be due for some regression. He's faced off against Miami, Oakland, what was it, Pittsburgh? Like he's really had some cupcake lineups. The one credit I give him is he kind of shut down Houston through 5 or 6 innings, but nonetheless that's more of an outlier. All right, kind of a similar spot for me here. I do lean towards the heavy favorite in Houston. It's Verlander going up against Tristan McKenzie, who isn't necessarily a guy that I would love to back. And I was thinking, okay, Tristan McKenzie's under in strikeouts, right? Not really going to get me there with, his strikeout line at 4.5. Like I was hoping it'd be 5.5, which would seem like kind of a cupcake because he did have 2 straight games of hitting 6 and 7. I still would lean towards his under, I guess, because it just seems like this Houston team should not be striking out against him, but seems a little bit low. But nonetheless, Houston on the money line here. Their bats are too strong. And obviously looking at this, Verlander better than McKenzie, though smaller sample size. Still, I would take Verlander over McKenzie any day of the week. Verlander, a couple starts this season, shut down the Cubs through, what was it, he didn't even pitch that deep into the game, but still no earned runs with 7 Ks. And then his previous game, he had, 4 strikeouts, or let's see, we have it right up in front of us. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits. Yeah, so it's like not terrible. I do think that he's obviously a little bit more consistent, or at least seasoned, we can say, for sure, in this game. In terms of the total, I think Houston gets to McKenzie. Do the Cleveland bats get to Verlander? Not necessarily sure. So maybe this is a team total through the first 5 for Houston that we like versus kind of asking for Cleveland to also contribute. You know what I mean? We saw a 10 to something game yesterday. So obviously Cleveland's bats contributed yesterday, but if you look at the Cleveland bats prior to, couple goose eggs, couple 2-run games, like that was kind of an anomaly in my opinion. So I think we look at Houston to carry the weight here when it comes to any sort of a total. All right, guys, if you made it this far into the video, go ahead and drop a 31 in the comments, letting me know that you're not a guppy, because you know what? Where is it? Over here. Don't be a damn guppy. And 31, that's a damn long time to be into the video, so I appreciate everyone that does that. And I love recognizing the username, so shout out to all the regulars in the comments. Drop 31 if you made it this far. But we got Arizona taking on the Dodgers. All right, let's see if I could pronounce this name correctly, because we've been struggling with it all year, right? Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I feel like I gave myself like an 86% on that one. Going up against one that I can handle, Zach Gallen. If Zach had, an H or a K at the end, I probably wouldn't be able to pronounce it. But because it's ZAC, less letters, the better chance I have pronouncing it. But Zach Gallen on the mound, who honestly, his last couple starts haven't looked all that great. This season, I wouldn't really say that he's looked all that great either. But it's funny because you have a Cy Young guy, right? Cy Young type guy. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, he's having an off year. 3.38 ERA, a 1.2 whip, a 3.5 FIP, a 3.19 expected FIP. So it's like he's still pitching well, but it's just not the Gallen that we saw last year. Yamamoto here, 3.54 ERA, 1.07 whip, a FIP of 2.6, an expected FIP today of 2.6 as well. This is probably a Dodgers spot for me. Just due to their offense. I'd rather trust the Dodgers offense than this Diamondbacks offense here in this spot. We saw the Diamondbacks win one yesterday. I feel like that helps the odds today, and we can get them from minus 135 on the money line for the Dodgers here. The bullpen, I don't mind, either. In terms of them being taxed, yes, a little bit after yesterday, but still this Arizona bullpen's also kind of taxed, and they're not very good. So that should even out in the wash. And Arizona against right-handed pitchers, like that's not the time to bet them. It's the time to bet them is against left-handed pitchers this season. So I'll take the Dodgers, but I kind of want to trust the arms here today. So I might lean towards the first 5 under, which seems kind of scary doing that in a spot in an Arizona versus Dodgers where they have such like a rivalry type thing where they could go out for a bunch of runs offensively. But I might consider backing both these pitchers today and taking the first 5 under. And now, guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. I believe yesterday we just hit 71,000 subscribers, so appreciate the hell out of everyone, or maybe it was the day before, but who's counting, right? Not us for sure, not looking at the analytics every day, but I do appreciate everyone that has supported us, and even when the guppies are in the comments or the haters, it's like, yeah, I like to clap back, have some fun. It's social media. There's some dweebs out there being like, this is so weak, you're being insecure. It's like, dude, it's social media, right? Like, and he's like, you'll never get far doing this, and it's like, well, I got you commenting, so clearly, you know, they don't boo nobodies, and if I'm clapping back at a guppy and it's making you feel some type of way, then it's even more, I've almost just spilt my whole coffee, it's even more of like a reason to just keep being me, you know what I mean? So anyways, without getting on a little bit of a rant here, appreciate everyone tuning in. We'll catch you guys in the next video. All right, peace out.